Fire all of them. Send them all home with or without a paycheck. I don't care. It's a disaster around here. I can't believe. I was interrupted by my business partner who said, but you hired and trained them all. What do you expect? Look, culture is just the sum of all the stories that your team, your employees, tell themselves about their work. That's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. Stay tuned.
Think storytelling's just for bedtime? Nah, it's the secret sauce for business magic. Stuck in a rut with bland pitches and yawning clients? Enter Boost Your Business with StoryPower. 6 weeks of epic storytelling training. It's like leveling up in a video game but for your career. Master the art of narrative and watch connections blossom like a viral TikTok. Simple, impactful, and game-changing. Ready to transform your biz vibes? Dive in now and make storytelling your superpower.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal growth plan at StoryPowerAcademy.com for leadership development and communication skills training.
I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. In 1996, my wife and I stumbled into a part-time side gig, working with kids, 8 to 14 years old. And the first night we were on this gig, we were supposed to be there from 7 to 11. That's the event time. We had to be there about 5 o'clock to set up and stay till about midnight to clean up. And between 7 and 11, we had 790 8 to 14-year-olds shoved into this building. Oh, there were 2 gyms and there were obstacle courses and bounce houses. There was a concession area and a DJ area and kids everywhere. You couldn't turn around without running into a kid. And there were staff members. In fact, the 400-page standard operating procedure manual that came along with running one of these events said you have to have a ratio of 1 staff member for every 25 kids. We had a very large team in that location. Now, from 1996, there was a little bit of a gap, but until 2009, when we sold our own franchise out of that company, we spent almost every Saturday with a staff of 25 to 30, sometimes 50 young people between the ages of 18 and 25, with a few sprinkled in 40-year-olds that would help us to manage this herd of children. And it was mayhem. I can tell you, to this day, we have a young lady that we call our daughter because she's kind of become a part of our family. We hired her at 16 because she told us she was 17. Yeah. She's not 17 anymore. We've known her for a long, long time. We've known her and watched her raise her daughter. Went on a cruise with them. That's the kind of relationship we built with this one employee. Many of the others, never seen their face again. They showed up for work one time and then quit. Or they would show up and I would get so frustrated with them, I would fire them. In fact, this is a true story. We only have an AV DJ business. In fact, the fact that I'm staring into a camera that we own right now is a derivative of the reality that at one particular time we had a contract. When we bought our franchise, we had a contract with a DJ company. And this DJ company was supposed to send us a DJ every weekend for this 7 to 11 time slot. They're supposed to have music on by 6:30 at the latest, ready to party with the kids till 11 o'clock and entertain the children. And over a period of several months, we got DJs that only wanted to play 70s music. They were in their 30s and 40s at the time, way older than the kids. They had no sense of what the kids wanted to hear for music. Zero. Then we got some DJs that were perfect. They were hip-hop DJs. They had the right personality. They'd get on the dance floor with the kids. They were really engaged and committed to our type of event. The problem is the contract that we paid they only got 30% of. And when you're that good with the crowd, you don't work for that kind of money. You go looking for other money, for bigger opportunity. And so DJ Blue vanished. And they sent us somebody else, and then somebody else, and then somebody else. And the quality of the person, it wasn't just the quality of their performance. It was the quality of the person. They didn't like kids. They didn't want to engage with the kids. When we got to the last straw, they sent a DJ out who, the first time they came, couldn't even get the music to come out of the system. I had to rewire the system at 7:40 while they were supposed to be playing. And I said to my wife, if they send this person back again, I'm just going to fire the contract. And she's like, well, what are you going to do for a DJ then, wise guy? And I said, I could accidentally do better than that. Well, sure enough, the next week, this individual was over an hour late. The system had been rewired because somebody had changed out parts in their setup and it wouldn't come on at all. And they brought their significant other and had some PDA behind the DJ stand in front of our 8 to 14-year-olds in Pleasantville. And I was like, okay, that's it, I'm done. We're not even paying for today. Play your music till 11 o'clock. The contract is done. Well, Thursday the next week, my wife says to me, who's DJing this week? And I went, that's a great question. She said, well, you said you could do it. So I ran to the pawn shop and I got my hands on some sound system and I got my hands on some music and I DJ'd it. And the result was I actually had a woman stand in the corner with her arms crossed the entire night, looking at me, watching me. And I'm thinking, I'm about to get chewed out for I don't even know what. And she walks up and she says, listen, curious, how long have you been doing this? And I said, oh, we started with kids events in 1996. She said, no, the DJ thing. And I said, 3 hours. She said, really? I said, yeah. She said, you're really good at this. In fact, I'm the principal of one of the local schools right here in this town, and we do a field day every year, and we've never seen anybody interact with the kids like you do. Would you be willing to DJ at our school? Never thought of it. I mean, I guess I could. She said, well, our budget is only, and I went, ka-ching, that was 10 times what I was paying myself. And right then, our DJ business was born out of the necessity that we couldn't hire quality people to simply do the job. I know you can resonate. Now, I don't know if you're in heating and AC, if you're in roofing, if you're in plumbing. I don't know if you're in the business of speaking by yourself and you've got to get people to do your technical writers and make sure that you're ready to get on stage and carry your books and set up your table. This problem is pervasive, and that is there's no one who will work for you as hard as you. There's no one who will work for you as hard as you. Now, I have to be honest. I say it all the time, and I always have to apologize. I feel sometimes like even the team that I have right now isn't always on my side. And my team is all related, either by blood or by marriage. My team is all related. Maybe that's it. It's the nepotism. I'm kidding. That's not it. But the expectations that I have for what needs to be done are so much higher, my commitment level, because it's me. That's a different level, right? It's like the chicken and the pig at breakfast. The chicken, kind of committed, provides the egg. You put it on the plate, little egg sandwich. Tomorrow the chicken does what? It makes more eggs. But once the bacon is on the plate, the pig is done. There's nothing left for the pig. The pig is committed. The chicken is kind of committed. If you have employees on your team who are only kind of committed, that's the kind of work they're going to do. But see, all of that goes back to, why am I here? What is the purpose? What is the big vision? If they don't have any of that, then they have some other things kind of going on inside them. So I'm a John Maxwell Certified Coach, so I do a lot of study around John Maxwell. And in his Mentoring 101 book, he makes this point, a couple of them. He says, you've got to share your dreams. Sharing your dream helps people know who you are and where you're going. There is no act that will better show them your heart and your motivation. Woodrow Wilson once said, we grow by dreams. All big individuals are dreamers. They see things in the soft haze of a spring day or in the red fire of a long winter's evening. Some of us let those dreams die. Others nourish and protect them. Nourish them through bad days until they bring them to the sunshine and light, which comes always to those who sincerely hope that their dream will one day come true. See, the challenge for a lot of organizations, small teams and large teams, is that the vision that drives the visionary, the founder, the CEO, the leader, the president, the solopreneur, the vision that drives them burns inside them like that glowing sunset fire. And if they can't articulate that to the rest of the team, nobody else has it burning inside them. They have a to-do list. They have tasks. They have job descriptions. They have, as we've discussed in the last couple of episodes, a whole lot of outside life drama. They have life to deal with. And in their minds, often, they punch the time card, swipe the card, sign in, do whatever it is they do to tell you, I'm here. And then they do whatever they can to do as little work as possible to keep their job, to fill in the job description. That's pretty much it. John goes on to say, in his book, The 1 Minute Manager, Ken Blanchard says, there's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when it's convenient. Sound like anybody who works for you? When you're committed to doing something, you accept no excuses. Don't equip people who are merely interested, equip the ones who are committed. Yeah, see, this is where I felt so many times like I just needed to fire them all and start over. But what I realized was the reason they couldn't do what was in that 400-page standard operating procedure manual was because there was no clarity for them beyond the job description. There was no understanding for them that what we are doing is so much more than showing up for a part-time job, getting paid for a few hours of your time, babysitting a bunch of children, and walking out the door. The first time that I sat down with my team, and actually I spoke at the national conference, and teams from all over the country that did exactly the same thing we did every weekend. And I said, look, when I was confronted by a parent and the director of Parks and Recreation for tackling a kid to the floor, the father, who towered over me, big guy, looked like he could play in the NFL. If I'm not mistaken, the son that I tackled to the floor later did play for the Dallas Cowboys as starting center. But at this time, when I tackled him to the floor, he already had a cracked collarbone from playing street hockey with no pads on. Yeah, that's the kind of kid he was. And when I tackled him to the floor and I had this confrontation with the city people and everybody, and I'm sitting at the table, and Dad says to me, what gives you the right to put your hands on my child? I said, I need you to see the scenario a little more clearly, if I may. Understand that the kid he was in an altercation with, his father is the law enforcement officer who's on duty right now at our event. And he has a lot of friends. And he's a little guy, way small for his age. And if anybody got the impression that your son was attacking him and winning the battle, it would have been 1 on 40, not 1-on-1. My tackling him was the same kind of tackle that I do with my 3-year-old grandson. And I tackled him to wrap my body around him so any kicks, blows, or punches that came hit me, not him. He said, okay, I probably would have done the same thing. I said, I'm not going to take on 40 kids either, especially when one of them is the son of a police officer. None of us need that nonsense. We don't need the smoke. But I also know this. If it hadn't been here, where I, as a parent, was engaged in the incident, it could have been the same altercation between the same 2 kids because they go to the same middle school. It could have been on the football field or in a dark alley or at a bike rack. But in this environment, we had a chance to step in and protect your kid. We had a chance to do something that any other environment you drop him off in on a Saturday night for 4 hours without your eyes on him, any of those other environments are not going to provide the same kind of security and concern for your kid that they get at this event. I can tell you this, until he aged out of the program, that kid was at every event that we did. Every event that we did. Dad got it. This is not just a place to play. We care about your kids, all 790 of the little hoodlums. We care about your kids, and that's why we're here doing what we do. And when I demonstrated that level of concern, that vision, this is more than babysitting. We're not just locking them in and hoping to make it through the night without tearing anything up. We're here to invest in them, build a relationship with them, be an example to them. The level of commitment of my staff changed. I'm not kidding when I tell you, this young woman whose life we're still involved in almost 20 years later, that young woman quit on me at least 5 dozen times, almost every weekend for at least 1.5 years. I'm done. I quit. I'm out. And she would start walking to the door, and I'm like, you can't quit because there's nobody else who will do what you do. But her level of commitment, while it grew over time, became the model. And there were a lot of employees who were, I can't call them employees, they weren't W-2, they were all 1099. A lot of our staff members had an awakening along the way as well. They're like, this is so hard. I didn't think babysitting was going to be this hard. Oh, but you're not babysitting. This is so much more than that. Commitment. Don't waste your time equipping those who refuse to commit. Don't equip people who are merely interested. Equip those who are committed. Those are John's words. Commitment is the one quality above all others that enables a potential leader to become a successful leader. Without commitment, there is no success. The kamikaze pilot who flies 50 missions is not committed. To determine whether your people are committed, first you must make sure they know what it will cost them. All right, here's where we go back to this. Culture is the sum of the stories that your team is telling themselves about their work. That's my quote. I believe that to be true because if you walk around a team of 35, 50 people and you hear what they're saying about the tasks that they're assigned to, and they're grumbling and they're complaining, and thank goodness, cell phones were a brand new thing at this time in our lives, and we didn't have as many people standing over there playing with their phones, texting, playing video games, et cetera, et cetera. I believe during the season before we sold our franchise, Angry Birds came out. And on more than one occasion, I would hear 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 songs in a row with no voice from the DJ, and I'd be like, hey, and I'd look up and Angry Birds was going on. So yeah, we knew some of that distraction was there. It wasn't a commitment level to be there. But when the stories that they tell don't jive with what you are trying to do, the big dream, the big vision, the big goal, the purpose, as Simon Sinek says, you got to know why. Why are you here? It's not just the part-time to collect a little cash. It's more than that. But you've got to be committed to that. You've got to be invested in that. You've got to, as the leader, help them understand what that investment is. And you've got to be clear that this next level, this growth in your job now is going to demand something of you. It might be as difficult as put your phone away. Now, we've got a couple of generations of kids now, young people as young as 3, 4, 5, who will physically fight you when you take away their blue light device. Scream, yell, tantrums. You would think you tried to smash them like Mario. They just don't want to give up their phone. They're addicted to it. When those people move into your workplace, you think it's no big deal, dude. Just put up your phone and get the work done. No. That's a huge sacrifice. That's a big ask. When that thing goes ding and you don't reply, your dopamine is all in a problem. I want you to understand, as a leader, asking them to change the story is a big ask. Because they come in with all the drama that's already in their life. They've already got all these impressions and understandings, all of these wants, dreams, desires, thoughts and feelings of their own. And as you go through this process in their life and help them find their place in your organization, part of that is you've got to tell the story of the organization. Why in the world would you tackle a kid to the floor? Let me explain. There was a reason. It wasn't a reaction. I thought through it completely before it happened. I've exercised this in my mind. I've rehearsed this in my mind. I understand the mission. I know the assignment. I know why we're here. This is not just a revenue play. This is not just a way to play with the kids. This is so much more than that. This is an opportunity to have a genuine relationship with these kids. I've done weddings, DJ'd weddings for kids that came out of Fun Time Live. They didn't realize it until they hired a DJ company that was the same company that they used to see every weekend. It's a fascinating journey to see that, to walk through life with them like that, to see them as grown adults and they go, those were some of the fondest memories in my life. That's the story your team needs to be telling. Not just did I punch in today and punch out today, did I follow the SOPs, did I do my job, did I check off everything on the task list, did I meet my job description minimum requirements? No. Am I sold out to the cause for which we do what we do? I saw a billboard one time. This seems out of place, but it's very powerful in its understanding. If you think of a HVAC company, heat and AC, when you think of that, you probably don't think of what is their why. I mean, they sell parts, they make your house cold or hot or whatever it is. But there was a billboard that kind of took the drill bit moment and put it on display. All it said was, your wife is hot. And then the 800 number, we can cool her down. That's pretty brilliant. It's cutting to the chase. It's explaining the why of what we do. Because you could take that a couple of different ways, but your wife is hot, miserable, uncomfortable because you haven't fixed the AC in the house. Maybe it's time for a tune-up. Call us. We can take care of that. We can cool her off. Okay, that really does cut to the chase, and it's a good play on words. But if, as a facilitator of that, changing filters, doing tune-ups, fixing AC, you understand that your assignment isn't just show up, change the filter. It's maybe they got a baby in the bedroom that's running a fever, and they can't cool them down because their house is 104 degrees. Maybe your play in this job isn't just show up and do a repair. Maybe there's more to it than that. It is the job of the leader to help the team understand that calling. Comic Lily Tomlin said, I always wanted to be somebody. I guess I should have been more specific. See, the challenge with the story that our team tells is that this is not just their work identity. It often becomes and comes from their personal life identity, the who that they are. As Myron Golden often says, you've got to be before you can do, you got to do before you can have. Whether that's the job, or that's the boat, or that's the relationship. You've got to be before you can do, before you can have good jobs, good boats, good relationships. If your being is out of sorts, it's because of the story that you're telling yourself and you're telling the world. That's why at StoryPower Academy we say our job is to help leaders tell better stories. From the mirror, the thing you say to yourself, to the media, the thing you put on the billboard, the thing you tell in your advertising, in your TikTok reels, in your social media content. The story you're telling the world about you and your business, and the story that you're telling you in the mirror about yourself. If you took 35 team members and you took the story they're telling themselves in the mirror about their job, about their relationships, about their commitments, and you put all of those together, the sum of all of the stories that your team members are telling themselves, that's your culture. That's your culture. You're going to have a mess of a workplace if those stories are a mess. 5 dysfunctions of a team. Patrick Lencioni gives us just really quickly. Members of a team with an absence of trust. Where does trust come from? Know, like, and trust. If I know you, because you're transparent, and I like you, not that we're buddies, pals, and going to have a beer together, but that we have similarity, common ground, then we can build rapport. So if you're transparent enough that people have an idea where our common ground is, then trust is a byproduct of that. Most people will tell you it takes forever to build trust. You can break it in moments. StoryPower teaches you to build trust in 90 seconds or less. Try me on that. I can demonstrate it to you, and I can teach you to do it. Members of teams with an absence of trust conceal their weaknesses and mistakes from one another. Tell me if any of these ring a bell. Just drop it in the comment down below. If any one of these bullet points you go, ooh, yeah, I think I've witnessed that. The problem is clear. The solution is StoryPower and attitude engineering. They conceal their weaknesses and mistakes from one another. They hesitate to ask for help or provide constructive feedback. They hesitate to offer help outside their own area of responsibility. They jump to conclusions about the intentions and aptitudes of others without attempting to clarify them. I know anybody watching right now could drop in the comments and go, yeah, that's our team. In fact, sometimes that's me. They fail to recognize and tap into one another's skills and experiences. Are you seeing a pattern here? When there's no trust because you don't communicate, because the story in your head about the work that you do and the people you work around is a mess. It's the leader's job to attitude engineer. It's the leader's job to engineer the attitude. And the way you do that is through consistent stories. They waste time and energy managing their behaviors for effect. Meaning, I look like I'm working really, really hard. Or in the Seinfeld episode when Costanza said, if you just walk around angry all the time, people think you're busy and distracted. And so they don't want to mess with you and they'll leave you alone. Yeah. They waste time and energy managing their behaviors for effect. They hold grudges. Again, drop it in the comments if anybody in your team holds a grudge. They dread meetings and find reasons to avoid spending time together. Why? Because there's no camaraderie. Everybody has their own story. Maybe you've seen Finding Nemo when the little octopus goes, you made me ink. Yeah, maybe you made me think, or you made me feel. Always blaming other people for your own responses to an issue, that too, my friends, is a story. It's a story that's playing over and over in your head, from the mirror to the media. And if you don't get that story under control, you're going to have a train wreck. It's just the truth. I'm sorry, but it's true. All right, so members of a team where trust is present. Really quickly, they admit their weaknesses and mistakes. They ask for help. They accept questions and input about their areas of responsibility. They give one another the benefit of the doubt before arriving at a negative conclusion. They take risks on offering feedback and assistance. They appreciate and tap into one another's skills and experiences. They focus time and energy on important issues and not politics. They offer and accept apologies without hesitation. They look forward to meetings and other opportunities to work together as a group. Look, all of that's on page 197 of The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. I'm going to tell you right now, there is so much resource out there about leadership, about team development, about personal growth, about your own development. And it all, in summary, comes back to one thing: story. If you want to lead your team better, you're going to have to master the stories that you tell. These stories may be the brand and marketing statements that go out in your TikTok and your social media accounts. They go into the ads that you tell about your company. When those stories depict the successes you've provided for your clients, awesome. When they depict the dreams and the visions that you have for the successes of your company, awesome. When they abandon the qualities of the people on your team, that's a leadership failure. When they're not consistent with the attitude of your team, that's a leadership failure. When the stories that your clients hear from your team when they're outside your work environment are not consistent with the brand that you try to portray, that's a leadership failure. StoryPower is an incredible tool for building morale, increasing motivation, and managing the attitude, brand, and culture within your place of work. It is the leader's responsibility to engineer the attitude, and you do that one story at a time. If you're not part of StoryPower Academy, I highly recommend that you jump on StoryPowerAcademy.com and find the place to jump in. We've got a 6-week course coming up in April, starts April 21st, that will walk you through how to identify stories that are going to be powerfully impactful in your life, and how to craft them, and how to deliver them, and how to build them into the narrative of your brand, your culture, or your own expressions. We also have one starting in June that will be a 6-week course on the attitude hack and how it actually works, helping you understand the words and the phrases and the attitudes they depict. Jump into those 2 courses. They will alter the course of your business and potentially the course of your life. The culture in your church, in your nonprofit, in your office place, in your family is just the sum of the stories that your team is telling themselves about the work that they do. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. There is a retreat coming up that I want you to know about. It's called the StoryPower Academy Retreat. This StoryPower Retreat is about focusing on your communication skills, taking them to the next level. Discover, develop, draft, deploy, and deliver some of the best stories you've ever learned. You're going to listen, create, connect, relax, and reflect around this beautiful lake scene in Granbury, Texas. It's a chance to rejuvenate and refresh and start over with some of the best training you can possibly imagine around storytelling, leadership, and communication. Join us.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal growth plan.